This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Great to have you with us. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis, got a busy show picking apart the 10th straight loss for the Winnipeg Jets last night, a 4-3 overtime defeat to the Vegas Golden Knights to kick off this January homestand. Not the way the home team wanted to see things go, but a game that, honestly, the result for a good portion of the game seemed almost secondary to the health of Hayden Flurry, who was involved in a very scary crash into the boards and was removed from the game and taken to hospital in a stretcher. Good news on Hayden Flurry. Jets did have a meeting today. They weren't on the ice. They had a team meeting today down at Canada Life Center, and Hayden Flurry was in attendance, which I'm just seeing reported by Freezer from the Winnipeg Sun, Paul Friesen, that Mark Scheifele, mentioned that was a good morale boost for the guys. And this is a team, frankly, that needs a few morale boosts right now. I mean, it was a really dejected locker room afterwards. We'll hear from Luke Shen and Cole Perfetti, as well as Scott Arniel, after a game that, they had a lead. But really had a tough time generating much offensively. Just here's the quick update from Scott Arniel. Hayden Flurry has a broken nose and a bruised back. As far as a concussion, more time and testing's needed to know for sure. He was able to go home from the hospital last night and was around the rink today for team meetings. So first things first, just thoughts for Hayden Flurry. That was a really scary moment in the first period and did cast a little bit of a lull over the early portion of the hockey game. I mean, there was some good to talk about. I mean, Cole Perfetti scored for the first time in like 16 games. He desperately needed it, only his third goal of the season. He's certainly not alone in struggling offensively, but for a young player that so much was expected of this season, it's been a real dry run. And I'll tell you what, I thought Jonathan Toews continues to play better. He's got, I think, 4 points in his last 6 games. Made a great pass to Perfetti to set up that goal. And, from where I was sitting last night, I thought he's showing a little bit more burst. And that's a good thing, obviously, for Toews individually and, what that means going forward for the rest of the season and potential moves, I guess. That's a conversation for a little bit further down the road. But bottom line is, as was referred to afterwards, it kind of feels like deja vu. And I'd said yesterday, I mean, this team is sort of the NHL's incarnation of Murphy's Law. If anything can go wrong, it will. And obviously you had the scary incident, which was, first on everyone's mind. But then finding a way to not come out of a game with 2 points against a struggling team that, frankly, was far from their best. I thought both teams were off a little bit last night. We'll talk about it with Remo. Ken Wiebe's going to jump on with us. Kevin Cheveldayoff, Jets general manager, also spoke with Sarah Orlesky during the intermission. We'll have a few clips from that, as well as hear from Scott Arniel and especially Luke Shen. And I think when we play the Luke Shen clips, at least my reaction to them was, I mean, this is a veteran player. He's been on some really good teams. He's been on some bad teams. He's been through it all. It seems like the realization of where they are right now and their current predicament is sort of really settling in with this club. And how could it not after losing 10 games in a row? Welcome to everyone with us on YouTube. Shout out to all you podcast listeners. Appreciate you all. Couple things to get to right off the bat before we bring Michael Remis in. Tonight, 8 p.m., over at Coolbet is our final poker tourney where you can qualify for the finals for the Costa Rica trip. That tournament is going to be happening next Monday. But tonight, 8 o'clock p.m., it'll basically be our regular tourney, but the top 4 finishers will get tickets for the Costa Rica final. So if you've played before and haven't qualified, this is the last chance qualifier. And if you haven't joined us before, come and do it. It's a heck of a lot of fun playing online with the rest of the crew. And again, we've got an incredible prize. Someone next Monday is going to be winning flights, hotel, and entry into the main event of the Costa Rica Poker Festival. We'll be down there for a week. Myself and Geoff Hamilton will be there as well. So I encourage you, if you enjoy poker and you haven't played before, you haven't been able to make the last couple, get in there tonight, 8 p.m. You're going to want to just go over to coolbet.com, click on poker. When you get into the poker site, go to tournaments, and you can search WST. You'll see the qualifier tonight. We will be in there, and we will be good to go. So hope to see you tonight at 8 p.m. One other thing, I mean, I know that, it was I will say this, I thought the crowd was really good last night. I mean, obviously there were some empty seats. I think that'll be the case probably for a number of games, but for a Tuesday night, I thought the atmosphere around the Ukrainian Heritage Night was awesome. The Ukrainian community really seemed to show up for that. I believe, I don't know the exact calendar, but it's right around their New Year. So Happy New Year to all our Ukrainian friends. And, for a team that was in the spot that they are in, I thought that the energy in the crowd was great. And, the people that are here behind the club were doing what they could to try to will the team to victory. Unfortunately, it just wasn't quite enough. We will be back with the WST gang on Friday night for the Kings game. If you haven't got tickets yet, you'd love to join us. We'd love to have you join us up in Section 316 for the game. Go to winnipegjets.com/WST. You'll grab a ticket. It'll also include a beverage of your choice. And if you would like to join us early, you can get in before the main doors. One note on Friday's game. This was to be the après-ski night. Obviously, there was a horrible tragedy over the course of, I believe, the weekend in Switzerland where I'm thinking like about 40 people lost their lives in kind of an après-ski environment. So just, in trying to be sensitive of what was a horrible tragedy, that promotion has been pushed back to the 10th of March. Now, if you did get tickets specifically to get there early and get the ski goggle giveaway that they were going to do, you can send an email to info@winnipegjets.com if you've got any information on that. I did see our pal Jay Sheps, who had moved his tickets to that game, hoping to get it, was hoping to do it, and I'm sure they will accommodate anyone that needs to move a game. But we'd love to see you on Friday night. Should be a fun way to kick off the weekend. Maybe we'll see a win that has been eluding the team and the fan base for the last 10 games. winnipegjets.com/WST. Hey, just before we bring in Michael Remis, huge thanks to all of our sponsors. Of course, our partners at CoolBet, the Jets, Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, Clean Line, Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, as well as Rolly's Transfer, St. Mattel Dental Center, Canadian Club, Uptown Alley, Manitoba Battery, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, our friends at Little Brown Jug, and of course, we'll get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Michael Remis, what's up? You were in the building last night, watching in the stands. What'd you think?
Yeah, I was with my dad. We shared a delicious ice cream between the second and third period. Very fresh, soft serve, nice ice cream. But
like a cone or
no, it was in a bowl. It was in a bowl. It was great.
Where'd you get it at?
It was the kiosk outside of our section, 306-ish. There was no line. Got out quickly before intermission. We're like, oh, ice cream. That sounds pretty good. I hadn't even thought about ice cream at the game.
I'll be honest, I've eaten a lot of different things at that arena. I'm not sure I've ever tried the ice cream.
Yeah,
Maybe I will on Thursday. Try to just change things up. Wear a different jersey, get a different concession item, and maybe this team can win a damn hockey game.
I had never thought. My son got ice cream once at a Moose game, and I thought it was sure great for kids, but I'm like, yeah, it sounds pretty good. Could use an ice cream after that goal to make it 2-1 Vegas near the end of the second. It did feel like deja vu. I think of Austin Matthews scoring late in a period on a power play to make a game close against Toronto, but this was, that was a multi-goal lead, and this was a one-goal lead, and you felt Vegas coming. It was pretty tight for 2 periods. Vegas really pulled away in the third, and just when you thought the Jets were on their way to getting a win, Kyle Connor scoring his 20th of the season. With 4 minutes to go, it was Vegas answering right back. You go to overtime, and I thought there was a questionable play. Was Velarde with the puck near Carter Hart? Did Carter Hart throw his stick? The puck goes the other way, take a tripping penalty on Marner, and Vegas scores the OT winner. Felt like too familiar, Huss, the last 10 games. Blowing a lead, losing by a goal, losing in overtime. And the last, 12 straight losses by the Jets in 1-goal games. It's crazy here, this stretch that they're on.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I'm not going to question the effort of the team. I mean, at some point when you're in slumps like this, it seems like the harder you work, the less results you get. And listen, they're not getting any results. I mean, I guess they did get a point. Obviously, that game went to overtime, but it felt like it was a very winnable game that they weren't able to finish. And listen, this wasn't a great night for Scheifele and Connor. I think they're scoring chances, if I recall correctly from KNR last night, were 1-4 and 11 against. The one that Kyle Connor had, he buried to give the Jets the lead in the last 5 minutes of the third period. And as you mentioned, a shot bounces perfectly to Riley Smith with an open net, and it's 3-3 again. But overall, there wasn't a lot going on through the middle of the game. I mean, Luke Shen scored a seeing eye shot, his first as a Winnipeg Jet. And by the way, Remo, did you see the answer to the long lost mystery of what is Luke Shen's goal song?
He scored. I didn't play it. I don't remember what it was though.
I wasn't familiar with the song, but in the most ironic of all ways, it was entitled "Take No L's." Right in the middle of the team taking 10 straight L's.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shen got on the board. It was 1100. It was his 1100th game. He spoke afterwards. We'll hear from him in a minute. But at one point in the game, the shots were 8-8. And then in the third period, at one point, they were 23-9 for Vegas. So there was a long, long period of time where the Jets just weren't able to generate anything offensively. We'll hear from Arneal in a minute. I mean, I think that for the most part, at least through the first 2 periods, they did a pretty good job defensively. Like, they weren't giving a lot up. But I thought Vegas really raised their level in the third period, and that's a big reason why we were talking about 10 straight losses, and the Knights getting a very important win after having won only 1 of their last 9 coming into last night's game. Well, why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray? Let us know in the chat what your thoughts were on the Jets' performance overall. Interested to get some feedback of some of the folks that were also at the game, some of you that were watching on TSN3 last night. With, listen, we know what happened in the game. We know the result, but the process. I mean, what did you like about last night's game, and what did you think was missing last night for the Winnipeg Jets? Let's start it off with the coach. And listen, first things first. After the game, everyone concerned about Hayden Flurry. Scott Arneal talked about the hit to his defenseman last night that sent him to the hospital.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate. I think that it was far enough away, but just the way Flurry was crossing over, obviously totally lost his balance and then went in hard. And, the response, I would expect something like that, especially with Adam. The one thing that, Colasar didn't back away either. So at the end of the day, it got settled very quickly, and that's hockey, but you hate to see that stuff, obviously, that, scary situation.
I know the team had said he had gone to the hospital. And is there any further updates?
He's at the hospital. He's be staying overnight. Obviously, he's got a lot of tests to go through. So, he does have a broken nose, so there's a few different things that kind of happen off it. So a little bit of everything. He obviously slammed his back, hit his neck, hit his head, and then obviously his nose.
I can tell you from someone that's been sitting in that rink for almost all the games over most of the time of the 2.0 era, that was one of the certainly one of the scariest incidences that we've seen in a long time. And just happy that it sounds like Hayden Flurry is back with the team right now, out of hospital and recovering, although I don't anticipate we'll be seeing him really anytime soon. Remis mentioned, there was the thought of potentially did Carter Hart throw his stick in overtime? The coach was asked about that, and here's how he broke that one down.
We looked at it. He dropped his stick. The stick never touched the puck. If the stick touches the puck and pushes it away, he just dropped it, trying to coming across. So on purpose, by mistake, I'm not sure, but it never made contact with the puck. So that's kind of the rule how it sits.
And then just obviously the penalty you took, I mean, it's back and forth. And
yeah, all the chances that we had and the looks that we had. And yeah, I mean, this is just Groundhog Day, right? It's something happens. It's, these things seem to be happening a lot recently. So just got to stay with it. I know it's hard to say and hard to hear, but we got to find a way. Yeah, I mean, now we're 12 seconds away from, getting out of that one.
I feel for Scott Arniel. His staff, the team, they're doing everything they can with absolutely nothing to show for it. And we've seen many times this year, especially over the last 3 weeks or so, this sort of, tone from the head coach afterwards. He was asked afterwards on, looking back at the 60-plus minutes, what he feels they could have done differently to come out with 2 points instead of 1.
At the end of the day, I thought we did a lot of things in the sense of trying to eliminate their top players from being, into it. They scored the power play goal, obviously, in the second. In the second. There was a lot of things that we did correct. With a lot of things that we did. The hard part was when we had to go down to 5D. Those guys were getting winded. Vegas did a real good job of getting the pucks into our corners and really making our D have to go back and get them. At the end of the day, you got to continue. I didn't like the last goal, the tying goal. Obviously, that's a coverage thing that we need to handle better, and those are situations that we've talked about, worked on, and those are things that are, especially when we get the lead like we did after Casey's goal, we got to find a way that has to go into lockdown mode, and that's a mistake by us, and not so much obviously the skill set on the opposition was good and strong, but at the end of the day, that to me we have to shut that one down.
There's the coach's thought on that tying goal, and I know it was sort of easy to think, oh, it's just a bad bounce, which it certainly was, but at the same point, you need to. From the coach, you need to be in position to prevent that from happening, not having a wide open guy that if it does go there, it is in the back of your net. Maybe the most difficult question for Scott Arniel, based on the current scenario and situation that his hockey team finds itself in, is how do they stick with it despite not getting the results?
You have to play the games. This is what your job is. It's your role. You have to coach the games. You have to be in these games. You just can't say, okay, it's been a hard year, it's been tough. We're not going to show up for the remaining 41. That's our job, and that's what we have to do. And I don't expect anything less. Those guys are driving each other. I'm driving them as a coach, and we're just finding a way to maybe, just maybe, there's a streak that's coming that we can jump on.
And what is, we've talked about this, just how stunning this fall has been and where they find themselves in right now. That was game 41. This show today, these next 2 days, this is the official halfway point of the season. And certainly it's already been a long 41 games, but I think it's safe to say that based on, the tone of players, and listen, you understand that after losing 10 straight games, But it seems like the reality, it really, at least after last night's game, and we'll hear from Luke Shen in a minute, is really starting to settle in. And that I think is going to be the greatest challenge for Scott Arniel and his staff moving forward. Trying to get the best and the most out of a roster and a team that, has done so much losing and kind of has seen their season slip away at the halfway point of the year.
0-6-4 in their last 10. I go NHL standings, sort by league. You go points all the way at the bottom. Winnipeg Jets with 35-41, 427 point percentage. I did not think that I would be here. They have 15 wins this year. They had 15 wins in the first, 16 games last year, and we're halfway through the year. And I did not think I'd be here on January 7. January calendar just flipped. Talking about, people are starting to ask in chat, are we going to start spinning the lottery simulator every day? We're going to have so much time for that. I don't want to burn it out. I don't want to burn it out early, but that's kind of what it feels like. And you just had a stretch of 10 games where you have so many losses by 1 goals. I think 8 of them total with, 9 of them. 9 was empty netter, that Edmonton game. And I don't know when things are going to turn. You got the Oilers coming in here. New Jersey's here Sunday. They just gave up 9 last night, and maybe the worst goaltending performance in history by Jacob Markstrom. Maybe the Kings are fighting for a playoff spot. But they're tough, and this is a rough situation here for the Jets. And we'll have plenty of time to discuss how all this happened as we play out the final half of the year.
Yeah, who knows how many times we're going to hit that draft lottery sim. If you do it today, though, your Winnipeg Jets will have the best chance of getting that number 1 pick and won't be worse than 3rd. So have fun with it, folks. Listen, this has really taken a toll on the team. I think we saw it at moments last night. Not to the point where they threw in the white towel or anything. It was a very, very close game. But it's wearing on the guys. And Remo, if you can, go to number 13. This is Luke Shen, as I mentioned, a guy that's been through it all in the National Hockey League. He spoke after the game and just talked about this losing streak that he and his team is in the midst of.
Yeah, I've gone through stretches like this in my career, just not with a group that's this talented, with a world class MVP goalie, and you got top line talent, and you got great defensemen, veterans, and guys who have been around for a long time and won, and it's not some bringing in a bunch of young guys and seeing what sticks. It's a good group of guys, and just finding ways. We're just not getting across the finish line at the end of the day. That's what it is, and the only thing you can do is continue to show up to work and compete. And there were some things, obviously, like every game you can clean up, but there are some good things that we can build off of. But the last thing I feel like guys are doing is hanging their heads and feeling sorry for ourselves. You just got to keep moving on. Lots of hockey left, and we got another tough one on Thursday.
So there's Luke Shen, who's seen this sort of thing before. Obviously the team is discouraged. Here's Shen. There's a little bit more on the team, the players, not throwing the towel in on the season at the 41 game mark.
Well, throwing in the towel, that would be an insane thing to do with this much time left. And on top of that, we're guys are in this position for a reason, and pros, and it's the NHL. You're never gonna just roll over. There's still a long ways to go. Each and every day you're playing for something. Each guy can kind of reflect and think what he's playing for on top of the team, and guys will still continue to show up and compete every night. And obviously it's been a crazy stretch, and obviously a lot of things haven't gone our way, but it's no excuse. We got to find a way to continue to keep pushing and start with one, and like I mentioned this morning, and just go from there.
All right, so there's Luke Shen, pretty dejected, as one would be on the heels of a 10th consecutive loss. Ken Wiebe's going to join us. We will have what Kevin Cheveldayoff had to say in between periods as well, coming up in a minute. Listen, with all the talk about the plight of the Jets and a lost season, all of a sudden the draft becomes much more important and probably a much bigger topic on this program than it has been for the last few years. Perfect time to talk with our pal Chris Peters, who's going to join us in just a minute, fresh off of the World Junior Hockey Championships. But just before that, I do want to thank our friends at Uptown Alley and remind you, gang, that the winter is here. There's no better place to stay inside out of the cold and have a blast with friends, family, and the gang than Uptown Alley at 1301 St. Matthews Avenue. Just an incredible facility if you haven't been in there. 5-pin lanes, 10-pin lanes, an unbelievable arcade with state-of-the-art games, as well as ticketed games where you can win great prizes, not to mention amazing food and beverage. It's always been the best spot for birthday parties for kids, teens, and adults, and an unbelievable venue to get together with your gang or do a group or corporate event. You can find out more at uptownalley.ca or give them a call at 488-0000 to make arrangements for that. Their event staff will take care of everything once you set it all up. And every night after 9 p.m., they've got their great bowl and play special, $20.49 for 90 minutes of 5-pin bowling and a $10 arcade card. Again, uptownalley.ca at 1301 St. Matthews. New year, new spot for you and your family to call home. Folks, if you're on the move this year in 2026, make sure to holler at our friends over at Roley's Transfer. Family owned and operated for over 60 years and the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba, and wonderful supporters of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Head over to Roleys.com and you'll be able to click on request an estimate. Use that promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. Let them know when and where you're planning on moving and what needs to go. And the friendly staff at Roley's will turn around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they've been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Roley's Transfer. Find out more today online at Roleys.com. Not a ton of smiles leaving the building last night, unless you're a Vegas Golden Knight fan. But speaking of smiles, if it is time for you to pop in and see the dentist, our pal Dr. Terry and the wonderful folks at St. Patel Dental Center would love to take care of you and your families. They've been doing for generations of Winnipeggers with a full array of dental services, from cleanings and checkups all the way to things like dental implants at their beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's Road, with convenient free parking right behind the building. Check them out online at stpateldental.ca. Make an appointment, pop in, and tell Dr. Terry and the gang that the boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. And listen, I get it. Some of you might have needed a drink after a 10th straight loss for the Winnipeg Jets. Of course, you can always lean on Canada's iconic Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club, official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and longtime supporter of Winnipeg Sports Talk. But don't forget, while supplies last, if you're at the LC or your local beer vendor, keep your eyes out for the Canadian Club Cranberry Ginger Ale. The great taste of Canadian Club with cranberry juice and ginger ale was an incredible hit around the holidays. Pre-mixed cocktail in cans, ready to go for you, waiting at your local Manitoba Liquor Mart or beer vendor location. Listen, we're bringing Chris Peters in right now. Reem, I'm just seeing that there's a little bit of news on the wire for the Jets.
Yeah, the Winnipeg Jets PR just put out on X, Hustler, as I bring it up on the screen, they've recalled Danny Zhilkin from the Manitoba Moose and have
Zhilkin, interesting,
and have placed defenseman Hayden Flurry on IR, retroactive to yesterday. So it sounds like Hayden Flurry, avoided anything like catastrophic, but wishing him all the best, because that was a very, very scary scene yesterday at the arena. And it was nice to hear that he was at the meeting today.
Interesting. So Danny Zhilkin getting the call up for the first time from the Manitoba Moose. We'll talk about that with Ken coming up. But right now, let's welcome in Chris Peters from FloHockey to recap the World Juniors and let us get a bit of a head start on draft talk on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Chris, what's going on, man? It's great to have you back on the show. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, Hustler, great to be with you. Great to be talking, and great to be up and moving at this point after 2 weeks at the World Juniors. I might be a zombie for the next few days, but this will help wake me up a little bit.
Hey, dude, you guys grind so hard throughout the year, but the World Juniors, is always such a big event. Just quickly before we kind of talk about the teams and the players, what was your kind of thoughts on the event overall? I know some of the games that they were hoping maybe more Canadians were at wasn't the case, and then, kind of a nightmare for organizers to have both Canada and the U.S. not playing in the gold medal game, but it seemed like the quality of play was really high.
Yeah, I think the quality of play was high, and certainly there was some more parity. I think that, there were a lot of interesting results over the course of the tournament. USA never really seemed to get their feet under them, and that was part of, kind of the thing that didn't help. They were bounced out of the quarterfinals and didn't play in the semis. So that always hurts, when the host team is knocked out before the last weekend of the tournament or last couple of days of the tournament. So that was an unfortunate thing. But at the same time, I think that there was a lot of things that maybe could have gone a little bit better in terms of ticket sales and different things like that. They did separate the US and Canada, and that was a strategic play from the local organizing committee to have Canada in a different building and try to, get more ticket sales in the secondary site, which is often difficult to do if you don't have one of the big teams there. Excuse me. And then on top of that, you also had, you're trying to sell out an NHL building. So it looks different than a couple years ago in Sweden, but Sweden was trying to sell 10,000 seats, whereas, they were trying to sell out 20 in Minnesota. So US games averaged about 14,000 people. They played 5 games at Grand Casino Arena, formerly known as the X there. And, those games were pretty full. They weren't sold out. The semi or the quarterfinal actually was the lowest attended US game. I think that's another thing where it's just awareness, ticket sales. You're not sure what time they're going to play, all those different things that factor in. But there was definitely a reliance on, I think, Canadian fans coming down. And I think given the current climate of things south of the border, it's pretty hard to get, people to come on down. And I can't say that I blame them at this point. But yeah, and then there was also a lot of, I think the local market, there was sticker shock from the ticket prices. And that kept people away as well, because it is an expensive event, and I don't know that it's ever in the last decade been appropriately priced for the average fan. So
100%.
Yeah, so that's part of it too.
We saw that coming out of the incredibly successful 99 event here. And then in 2003, they started going to the bigger NHL buildings, and it sort of became like this cash cow that I think really got away from the roots of the event that made it what it was. And now you're essentially paying at times like nearly NHL prices for games. And, I would far prefer to make it far more accessible, affordable, and see full buildings than the way they've done it. But we don't make those decisions. We're just there to watch the games. You mentioned the Swedes. We got to start off with the gold medalists. It's incredible with how much winning that this team has done in the round robin of the tournament, that it's been 13 years since they got it done. Seemed like a bit of a star is born with Stenberg, who was phenomenal. A couple Jet prospects and Alphonse Frey and Sacha Boumedienne playing big roles. Tell us about the gold medal champion Swedes and some of the players that were turning heads.
Yeah, I think they were the best team from start to finish. I think they played, collectively so well. They didn't have the best team on paper, but I think they just played better than everybody else more consistently. They had an elite power play. Frey was leading the first power play, the primary guy on that unit. As good as Boumedienne is, he wasn't on the power play at this, but he ends up factoring in a major way in the gold medal game. So, I think that there was a lot of great performances all around. You mentioned Stenberg. To me, he was one of the best forwards in the tournament. Anton Frundell was a majorly impactful player for them. 3rd overall pick for the Blackhawks. Excuse me. I'm still coming over for the World Junior cold that happens every single year. But yeah, I think that the Swedes, they also got great goaltending from Luve Herenstam, who, I think was maybe one of the question marks coming in, and he delivered in such a big way. So really talented team. super skilled. But on top of that, they played hard. Like they had a great forecheck against Czechia and threw a little bit of their own game right back at them. And, I think that was a really, really exciting team to watch. They were a lot of fun. Some of their best players were their best players. You saw Stenberg set up Boumedienne for the incredible go-ahead goal that ended up standing as the game winner in that game. It was an insurance goal at the time, and it was a great one-timer, and that's something that I'd love to see Boumedienne do even more, is shoot the puck because he's got such a great shot. But overall, you have to give your all the credit to them. They heard all the noise. Sweden can't do it, can't win the big game, and they delivered. They beat USA, beat Finland, beat Czechia. Really, really strong work by them overall.
Just thoughts on the tournament for Boumedienne and Alphonse Frey, both Jet draft picks on the Swedish blue line.
Yeah, I think they move pucks extremely well. Both are great skaters. Both are guys that, have some offensive elements to their game. Frey definitely a bit more so in terms of, trying to push things up the ice and get involved in the play. I think Sasha is just a tremendous skater, and I thought that was on display in this tournament where it does move so quickly, and he's able to close gaps that way. He's able to, recover if he's caught up ice, and I think that's such a good thing to see. Frey still there's plenty of work for him to be done in the defensive zone, but at the same time, the team he has the puck a lot on his stick and he makes a lot of good decisions with it. He really was a big part of making that first power play unit go, which I think was really great for Sweden. They needed a strong power play, and so often at this tournament, if you have the best power play, you're going to have a chance to win the gold medal. And they had I can't remember if they finished first or second behind Canada, but just a tremendous power play overall. And he was a big part of it, kind of quarterbacking the thing from the top of the point. So I think both those guys are going to come away from this tournament with more confidence. I think they're both coming into, showing what they can do against their peers. And I think you got to be really excited about what they brought to the table.
Tell us about Ivar Stenberg. He was, a guy coming into the tournament. Oh, you pay attention to this guy. He's going to be in the mix. But, certainly in Canadian circles, it sounded like it was Gavin McKenna and Verhoff and then Stenberg. What did we see from him in the tournament, and how much did he help his potential to maybe rise to the number 2 or number 1 pick?
Yeah, he definitely rose his stock. I think that's, he's had a great season in the SHL all year. He's on pace to have one of the best and most productive draft seasons by a draft eligible in that league, which I think is a big deal. What I think he showed more than anything was that competitive drive that he has, the ability to make plays under pressure, the ability to deliver in big moments. He scores the empty net goal. He sets up the goal that was the game winner. He's fast, he's physical. He's not big, but he plays on the interior. And I think that's as scouts were looking at him versus McKenna, both of them are wings. Both of them are, not big. And you got to look at, who's getting to the middle more, who's playing between the faceoff dots, who's going to the hard areas. And for me, that was Stenberg way more than McKenna. And I think that's kind of going to be part of the debate going forward here. I don't think that the World Juniors, one way or another, told us who's going to be the number 1 pick this year. I don't think it was. It often doesn't. It can help solidify things. I don't think it clarified anything about Gavin McKenna's season. I don't think that it clarified anything about Keaton Verhoff or Carson Karls, who played limited roles for Team Canada. I do think it was a major moment for guys like Albert Smits of Latvia, who's going to probably be a top 10 pick, for Stenberg, who is very much in that number 1 conversation now. Those are the players that really delivered. And it also was a great one for Viggo Bjork, who's also on Team Sweden, youngest player on the team, only guy wearing a cage on the team. He is also undersized, about 5'9", but he was on every critical faceoff that Sweden had. In the quarterfinal against Finland, he played every other shift in overtime until he took a penalty. Literally every other shift, he was over the boards. And that is a 17-year-old who's also playing professionally in Sweden. The size is an issue, but he's a guy that really showed people what he is capable of, and that his competitive drive, his hockey sense, could make up for some of those shortcomings when it comes to his physical profile. but just a tremendous tournament overall for Stenberg. It wasn't a bad tournament for McKenna. It just wasn't a necessarily illuminating tournament for him beyond what we already knew. So I think that, guys like Bjork and Stenberg really did help themselves here, get more firmly into a conversation to go maybe a bit higher than some people may have had him before the tournament.
The McKenna conversation is so interesting. I mean, when you put up the numbers that he's done in junior, and then you come with the fanfare to Penn State in the offseason now that the NAIL and it's all been opened up, it comes with a ton of attention. And, a lot of the narrative that I was reading was that it was sort of an okay tournament for McKenna. And then I look, he had 14 points in the tournament. What's the report card on McKenna for this tournament overall? And were the expectations just so high that, even a 14-point tournament was just okay for a guy like that?
Yeah, it's interesting, but I think it comes back to watching him play. The points are there. It's a lot of perimeter play, a lot of, assists, a lot, fewer goals, some secondaries, power play points. I mean, he's feasted on the power play in multiple settings, including at college. And you talk to enough scouts and you say, all right, well, where's the interior play? Where's the way that you produce in the NHL? Where is the way, fighting for pucks and winning battles? That's never going to really be a strong suit for him. He's not a very physically strong individual. He didn't tack on much weight over the offseason. That's part of what going to college will hopefully allow him to do, is to get bigger and stronger against stronger competition. But you look, and 14 points. He did have a 4-point game in the bronze medal game. That's a nice way to make sure that the history books look a little bit nicer to you in that regard. But I do think that there's still a lot of questions about how he produces, how he's playing. And I think what college has exposed is that, his ability to play in the hard areas isn't as strong. His ability to play in the defensive zone is not strong at all. And so now you're kind of like, okay, does that fit the profile of a player that goes number one? You could say, well, were we having these same kind of conversations about Patrick Kane, Jack Hughes, guys that were maybe undersized, more skill, maybe not as good in the defensive zone? And the answer is yes. And I'll say too, like, I still think that McKenna, the question for me is definitely there of whether or not he should be the number one prospect. But if you do look at the entire body of work, you're saying, okay, well, how can you not take that player? Because, if you're wrong and you take someone else and he is a superstar, you don't survive that. So I think that that's the thing that teams that are going to be picking number one are having that conversation is, does he fit that number one profile? Or is there a player like a Keaton Verhoff who's a 6'4" defenseman with mobility and can produce? Or is Stenberg more gritty? Is he going to get us more? You're not giving up much skill if you go his way. So there are going to be a lot of debates, and I think it's really incumbent on McKenna now to have a very strong second half at Penn State, get them into the national tournament, have them make some noise. But again, in trying to quiet the doubters, the points help, but the eye test still is saying the same things we were seeing before that created that doubt in the first place.
Chris Peters of FloHockey with us here, recapping the World Juniors and talking about some of the top draft eligible prospects. Ivor Stenberg was the star. We talked about McKenna. You mentioned Verhoff. Tell us about his tournament, and is it still a consensus top three? Like, would you be surprised that the top three picks were any other combination of those three guys we just mentioned?
Oh yeah, I don't think there's any consensus anymore. I don't think that there's, I've heard from enough scouts that said it's just, I don't even want us to have to pick one, because I don't know. I'd be, I think it's a tough year to have those picks, and we'll kind of have to see where everything ends up.
It's three really different players. I mean,
yeah, very different, and I think it comes down to the fact that we're talking about a couple of wings at the top. I think Tynan Lawrence is in this discussion. He just made the announcement yesterday that he's going to Boston University for the rest of the season. So now he's going to be judged on equal footing with Verhoff and McKenna for the rest of the season for about 18 to 20 plus games. So that's going to be an interesting wrinkle. And there are people that have him one. There are people that have Stenberg one. There are people that have Verhoff one. There might be some people that have someone else one. And so with that, that lack of consensus, it creates a lot of work now for the scouts to spend a lot of time focusing on those top guys. I mean, like Macklin Celebrini, nobody had to watch him for the second half of the season if they didn't want to. They knew what they knew about him. And it's like, this guy's obviously going number one. The teams that are going to be picking very high are going to have to probably get their GMs out there. They're going to have to get their head scouts out there multiple times to see these players in person, to interview them, to do all the things that you have to do. Verhoff is a really interesting one because he fits the physical profile of the kind of number one defenseman. There have been some great moments for him at North Dakota. There have been some not as sound moments. He obviously didn't play a ton for Team Canada at the World Juniors. But he's still very much in the mix to be the number one pick. So I think you could look at those guys. I think you could throw in guys like Albert Smits and Chase Reed and all these others that, who knows what it's going to look like when it all comes down. So I think there's going to be a lot to look at here in the next little while. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there is a consensus. I do think the players, the quality of players is strong, maybe not as strong as the last couple of years. But there's a lot of really good defensemen. There's going to be a lot of guys. I think that next tier of players is as strong as any draft. It's just maybe that the top isn't quite as exciting or as comfortable. Maybe that's a better way of putting it, more comfortable in terms of who you're going to take.
You mentioned Carroll's. He's a Manitoba kid who seemed like, has just sort of had this, incredible ascendance. Wasn't as much on the radar at the start of the year, ends up being on the team. You mentioned he was in and out of the lineup, didn't play a ton, but just as a prospect, how much has he helped the stock? I mean, is this a guy that is clearly likely going to be going in the top 10?
Oh, yeah. Majorly helped his stock. I think there's a lot of love for him in the scouting community. I think that he plays a really strong defensive game. He's got offensive ability, skates extremely well. He's got a bit of physical edge. So, all those things help. I think that he's absolutely in the mix here. We kind of thought at one point maybe he would move into the top 4 for Canada. It looked like he was kind of trending that way. That's not how it ended up going. But going back through this first half of the season and also at the CHL Top Prospects, the CHL USA Prospects Challenge, he was probably one of the best players in that game. In a game that didn't, CHL lost the series, but he was really good in those games. And I think that there's such a maturity to him, and there's a comfort, I think, that comes with that. It's not he doesn't have the profile of the defenseman that goes number one, but he has a profile of a defenseman that could grow into a top pairing guy, a top 4 guy. He doesn't necessarily get you out of your seat with excitement in terms of how he plays the game, but he plays a style that makes you feel like, hey, this guy could be on our blue line for the next decade, and we'd be really happy about it. I get a little bit of Brock Faber vibes from him. I think that some of the skills that he possesses, whereas maybe the offense isn't going to be super high end, but he defends well. He does a lot of things right. He moves pucks effectively and he skates really well. All those things are kind of the combination that you hope for. And I like the player an awful lot. I think his future is very bright, and it'll be interesting to see kind of what the next developmental steps are for him. He might be one of those guys that goes to college next year, gets a little extra development, and then is in the NHL within a year or two after that. So, but he definitely helped himself just by making Team Canada, but also with how he's played in the first half, and another strong half of hockey will keep him in the conversation, maybe even into the top 5.
Chris, just because we're in the very unenviable position of seeing a team that had high hopes now be talking about a potential lottery pick in the top of the draft, have you seen much of the Ontario Hockey League this year, like outside of the World Juniors?
Oh, yes. Very much so.
Tell us about Kieran Walton. And, I remember the Jets picked him in Vegas, and we talked to him right as they were kicking us all out because he was like a 6th-round pick. And it was time to get out because they had like a show there that night in the Sphere. And we talked to him very briefly, and then he came here, and he seems to be far exceeding maybe what was expected from a mid-6th round pick. Where's he at?
Yeah, no question, far exceeding his draft stock. I mean, the fact that you've got a 6'6" player that has produced at the level that he has over the last, year plus, 92 points last season. Just that was incredible. And then 52 so far this year, on pace for over 100 points with Sudbury. I just think that, I don't think he's going to necessarily be, I don't think he has the skill to necessarily be, a consistent 50, 60 point guy in the NHL, but I think he's putting himself in a position to play in the NHL, to be a good scoring depth option, a guy that's going to play, on both sides, give you good shifts in and out. Excuse me. But the size factor, and you throw that in with his tremendous, production and power game, that's rare to find. I think that, you need to develop and cultivate that. It's probably going to take him a little bit of time to find his way in the pro game. Obviously right now he's physically dominant among juniors. Get to pro, get that kind of toughness that you need to play in the AHL to get to the hard areas of the ice. I think he'll do that. I have a lot of time for him, but I'll tell you, no question is he way ahead of where I thought he would be at this point. I was not sure exactly what the Jets were going to get out of him over the last 2 years. We've got a guy that knows how to score goals. We've got a guy who knows how to drive the net. That's a great thing to have. And so that is looking like a very good pick. Still a long way to go developmentally to get him to the place where he's going to be at the NHL level. But I think you have to at least feel excited when a guy pops like that, having been drafted so late.
Chris, really appreciate you jumping on today. Love your work. And I have a feeling we might be hitting you up a little more frequently during the second half of the season here in Winnipeg. Always appreciate your time. The FloHockey, I mean, a record-setting year for Flo. Just fill people in on what you and the Flo team have cooking over at FloHockey.com.
Yeah, I mean, we just wrapped our World Junior coverage. Now we're kind of heading into the second half of the season, so a lot of NHL draft coverage coming up. But also, we have the AHL, the ECHL. They've got some major events coming up, like their All-Star games, and we have an outdoor game for the AHL as well. So we'll be providing full coverage of that. Also going to have a lot of OHL, QMJHL coverage as well. So if you want to watch Kieran Walton, you can watch him on FloHockey. So go ahead and do that. But yeah, I feel really lucky that, I'm at a place that is really invested in hockey the way that Flo has over the last couple of years. And, to have the amount of live rights that we do, if you want to see hockey beneath the NHL, most of it is on Flo. And so it's a really great opportunity to keep an eye on and keep tabs on these prospects. And that's what I get to do all year. And so that's why I get to watch a lot of it. OHL hockey. I'm actually going to head out to Peterborough next week to go to the OHL top prospects. So can't wait for that.
Beautiful. Well, we've got about 350 budding draft experts in the chat right now, and we're going to be locked into what you and the gang have as we get closer to that. I appreciate your time as always, pal. Get a little rest after the World Juniors and have fun out in Peterborough.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys. Great to be with you.
Good stuff. All right. Great stuff. There's Chris Peters. You can give him a follow on X at Chris M. Peters. All right, Kenny's going to join us. We will hear some of the comments of Kevin Cheveldayoff from yesterday with Sarah Orlesky coming up in just a minute. Before we bring in Ken, I do want to thank Princess Auto for their great support of WST as we head into 2026. Of course, Princess Auto is synonymous with Winnipeg, founded here, headquartered here, now serving Canadians coast to coast with the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new for the new year waiting for you at Princess Auto. You can visit them at Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, or out in Brandon. Shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. The Derminator and our pals at Chud's Power Sports are ready to start the year in adventure. The holidays are over, but there's deep snow and an opportunity to power into the new year with unforgettable adventures on the trails, lakes, ice, and open roads. January is the perfect time to take care of incredible savings across every department at Chud's Power Sports. And be sure to check out the online parts store, True North Parts, for winter-ready gear and unbeatable start of the year deals. Of course, right now, ATVs, side-by-sides, commercial XTVs are hot. And of course, when we're talking getting out on the snow and the trails, Arctic Cat, Polaris, Sasquatch, Evolution, Roxor, Suzuki, all there. And hey, we got ice fishing season as well. It is underway. Stay warm on the ice or plan your next getaway with comfort and confidence all winter long. The lines of Forest River Aurora RVs and Grey Wolf Fish Houses will take you there. Pop by and see them. The Chuds family would love to welcome you in person at the corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli, or check them out online today at chudspowersports.com. Tomorrow, we will have our NHL Power Poll, and we'll focus on the top, not necessarily the bottom on the Power Poll next week, or tomorrow, for our friends at Chuds. And hey, nice few days coming up, but we know it's going to get gnarly here with the next couple of months of the Winnipeg winter. Make sure you're ready for it, and your battery is good to go. That's where Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery come in, locally owned and operated, with 2 locations to serve you, Logan Avenue and Dovercourt Drive. Free battery testing if you're wondering how much juice that battery has to get you through the winter. And for all your battery needs, you'll get the best prices in town, period. Beating the pants off the big box stores, not to mention the best in customer service at Manitoba Battery. They'll also deliver citywide as well inside the perimeter for all your battery needs. Pop by and see them in store. Shop online today and see all the great deals at manitobabattery.com. All right, let's bring in Kenny. Finished up K&R. These K&R shows are probably getting tougher and tougher as the losses mount. But the boys are professionals and got after it. A well-hydrated Mr. Wiebe joins us now on the program. Ken, what's going on? How are you?
Andrew, great to be with you. Was on my way home and then a little Danny Zhilkin news, so had to crank something out quickly. So we're borrowing the check-in studios here. So thank you in advance.
I was wondering exactly.
Thank you in advance, JT and Sarah and company.
I thought maybe you were in some sort of a hotel room somewhere.
No,
it's a busy week, so I don't know whether you would have been able to get away for today and come back for tomorrow's game.
It's the Bob McKenzie special, hiding behind the fern here, Huss, for breaking news.
Hey, listen, let's get to, we got a game, we got a 10-game losing streak, we got a lot to talk about, but, you mentioned, Hayden Flurry goes down. I was talking afterwards, I think this is a real opportunity, not necessarily to replace that defense spot. They've got 7 guys right now. Stanley will be back from suspension next game. They went the route of a forward, and Danny Zhilkin gets his first call up to the show.
You bet, Huss. I mean, we've been talking about Zhilkin since his really impressive, prospects showcase there in Laval this year in Montreal. So, great opportunity for him. Huss, I've used the parallel between Jansen Harkins and Danny Zhilkin, not necessarily style of player, but the fact that Zhilkin kind of went through some stuff and injuries and, stalled development. And all of a sudden he showed up at camp this year and opened up a ton of eyes with his skating ability and two-way play. Dave Manouk just pointed out again today that Mark Morrison mentioned in November that Zhilkin has now established himself having the skill set as a number 1 centerman in the American Hockey League. So, impressive job by him. He's got 7 goals, 14 points. He's a smart two-way player. He can kill some penalties. Again, because the Jets didn't skate today, Huss, we don't know for sure if Zhilkin is playing, but we've been talking about this for a couple weeks. I won't be surprised if Zhilkin is playing tomorrow. We know that there is the Jets center group has not been, at its peak, and at the top of that list, Vlad Nemestikov, 18 games without a point, and now 1 assist and no goals in 29 games. Huss, I think there would be an opportunity for Scott Arniel to put Danny Zhilkin right in on the 4th line at center and sort of see where things go from there. Now, Nemestikov had his first scoring chance in a while last night in the first period, but he just hasn't been the same productive player that we're used to seeing. So again, this is no inside information. I'm just trying to follow the breadcrumbs here, but I would think the fact that it is Danny Zhilkin and not a winger like Walker Dewar would suggest that, maybe he goes right in. And it's also possible they want to get him a couple practices and maybe he plays against LA or, against New Jersey on the weekend and that they wait. But for a team that's
not a lot of practices coming up. That's the thing.
No, and that's the other part too. So I have to think that he's going to be put right into the lineup. Otherwise, you'd probably send him on the road trip with the Moose. And if you need him at some point, you get him on a plane. But anyways, it'll be interesting to see at the morning skate where he slots in and, who his line mates are and, what the usage is going to be if he is getting in or if he's just here as an insurance policy. But Huss, this is simple to me. The Jets already have an insurance policy here with Cole Koepke up front. So if they weren't planning to play him, I don't think they would have called him up. That's just sort of how I view it.
Now, and listen, we're just dealing with this in real time. My takeaway from this is that, they are looking, and again, this will be part of a bigger conversation with where they're at and what's coming up in the second half of the season and beyond. They kind of know that this is an opportunity to get a younger player in. And the fact that it's not Brad Lambert, or Braden Yeager or Colby Barlow, those players, like it's been clear, I guess, that of that younger group of the prospects that are on the team, as opposed to the more veteran players, Zhilkin has been the guy that's acquitted himself the best right now. And but I am interested in your reaction to the fact that they went with someone like Zhilkin over David Gustafsson, who's been playing some real good hockey and leads the team. I mean, does this kind of what can we read into the fact that they went with a young player in his first call-up as opposed to a guy that I think we'd all agree is more NHL ready if you were just looking to plug him into the lineup?
Yeah, I would just counter this way, Huss. I think to me, the Jets know what they have in David Gustafsson, and you're right. He's been playing really good hockey, and if there's an opportunity, you could make the case that he's deserving of the opportunity as well, Huss. I think he's been playing well. He's been pretty productive, but I think the Jets are using this situation to try to find out what they have. I mean, some people will argue, well, then give Lambert a longer leash. Well, that's fine, but Lambert hasn't been excelling in the minors, and neither has Nikita Chibrikov, quite frankly, Huss. And I understand there's a bunch of people that want to see those guys right up there and recall 10 guys and everything else, but I think this is a smart move by the Jets in giving Zhilkin a chance. Again, that's not a knock on Gustafsson. As you know, I'm longtime charter member of the Gus Bus faculties here, but lead conductor or whatever way we'll want to call it. But to me, when Gustafsson was sent down at the start of the year, it sort of signaled that the Jets didn't view him as, it went right down to the wire and all those things, but that they didn't view him as an immediate solution. Now, it's incumbent upon David to play the way that he has and work himself back into that conversation, and he also has. But I think in this situation, Zhilkin's in a situation where he's a young guy. It's kind of time to get him a shot, and he's been playing well. And here's the other thing, Huss, that we know Zhilkin's a better skater than David Gustafsson. With all due respect to Gustafsson, who has an elite, very smart hockey mind, intelligence, very good defensive player. Zhilkin's a better skater. And right now the Jets are trying to get faster, which is why I've been talking about Walker Dewar so often as a potential call-up. But Zhilkin, really good two-way skater. Gustafsson's worked hard in his skating, but right now I think they're just going with a faster guy in this scenario, and they're going to, I don't know how long the leash is. I don't know, what role he's going to play. I would imagine he's going to move into a fourth line role and sort of see where it is. I mean, I don't expect, if Nemestikov is the guy that comes out, I don't expect him to be sitting out for 10 games either. I think it's more of a, wake up call, if you want to call it that. And I also could see Vladislav Nemestikov moving to the wing in the coming weeks if the Jets want to give Zhilkin a run here, which is, again, it's impossible to know because outside of Scott O'Neill, I asked Scott the last question today, will this leave the door open for a call-up? And he said they would have the ability to do so, but they didn't get into it. So we'll wait until the morning skate, see where it shakes down. But I mean, Zhilkin is also he's a third-round draft pick, so it's not like you're giving a free agent or a seventh rounder a chance. As a guy who's drafted in 2022, he's been in the organization for a couple of years, and he's earned the call-up. So you want to see what you have. And not sure you want to have him out against Connor McDavid on one of his first shifts, but hey, that's the beauty. Welcome to life in the big city here, Huss, right? I mean, I think the Jets control the matchup to a degree, but my point being that much like what we saw with Elias Solomonson, it's not easy pickings out there over the next few days, but that's what you want to find out what you have in players. And I think that Zhilkin will, he's a really mature guy, Huss. We saw it in Montreal at the draft. Smart kid, loves the game, very eager. I mean, he's been waiting for this opportunity, and now it's incumbent upon him to show what he can do at this level.
Yeah, we had him on the show. I was really impressed with him. I know he's been, really active with some projects outside of hockey, which has been interesting. And bottom line, he was a player that did have some injury issues that I think has done a lot. We were just talking to Chris Peters about what Kieran Walton has done since being drafted and where his stock has gone. And I would suggest of all the players that are drafted by the Winnipeg Jets that are in the organization this year at the pro level, I think this speaks for itself that he's done the most to put himself in a position that he was the guy that got the call from the Winnipeg Jets. So we'll look to see what the Zhilkin situation is tomorrow. Ken, I know we've spent a lot of time over the last few days talking about it. I had Sean yesterday on, just talking about the obviously Cheveldayoff's availability, and we've got some clips from him talking to Sarah last night. But let me just tee you up. We are 41 down, 41 to go. The team's in 32nd, and listening to Scott Arniel and Luke Shen last night, I don't know. My perception was, no one's ever going to be throwing in the towel. Shen said to as much, but it seems the reality of just how dark this situation is sort of really now showing its head right now on the back of a 10th straight loss.
Yeah, borrow the Claude Noel special. Joy in Joyland is certainly not high at these times. But I would also counter not counter, but the mood around there's obvious disappointment and frustration, but I don't see a lot of super long faces or the throwing in the towel portion. I think is what the Jets deserve some credit for not doing. Quite frankly, Huss, I know it's been a 10-game losing streak and it's driving fans wild, but this isn't a team. The Jets aren't acting like a 32nd place team in terms of effort and, the odd day, maybe you mail one in at the back end of a 3-4 or whatever else. Now, Josh Morrissey had a pretty passionate plea here when he was asked about his message to fans. He said it's disappointing. The players are the most disappointed and they don't like where they are. This sucks to go through. And I don't think that they're ready to kind of go through the motions for 41 games. I don't get that sense, but again, it's also up to them to show that they can get it turned around. There haven't been enough signs. There have been stretches, but Huss, the standard is just not, and again, we're not pretending that this is last year, but the standard for what qualifies as strong play just isn't at the place where we're used to seeing. And that's what Josh talked about. Josh talked about, the expectations. These aren't external expectations that aren't being met. They're internal expectations that aren't being met. And I think that's where the disappointment comes from, players, coaches, management, fan base also, right? So, but again, I'm just here to say, Huss, I don't see, I think there is certainly a reality in terms of there needing to be urgency if they're going to try to get in it. But Huss, players can do the math also. Now, they're not doing the math the same way you and I are in trying to see if what they have to do to add up to, I think I saw a tweet today, right now the second wild card, is tracking towards a 88-point pace or 90-point pace, which is very low compared to certain years, but it's a weird spot to be in for them for sure. And yeah, if they want to give themselves to actually be in the race, Huss, 11 points back and 7 teams to leapfrog, they're going to have to make a lot of hay here in the next month where they play a lot of home games. And if they don't, then I'm with you. I think that reality of what is setting in, I think will be, a little bit closer. Yeah. Anyways, I know where you're coming from, Huss. I just don't get that sense from the players.
No. Listen, and it would be, they can't have that. It's like Luke Shen said. They're professionals. They know what the job is. They have to go there and get ready for the next game and go and play it. it feels like Arnie's getting a little bit more resigned to where they're at right now. And listen, I mean, he just has reacted, the way I think any human in his situation would be after all these close, devastating losses that have put them to where they are. What is interesting is, what's happening behind the scenes with management. And, Sean and I were talking, like, I do feel that I think they know that this season's pretty much cooked. And now it's a matter of, shall we say, recalibrating or refocusing on where the path is for this second half of the season. And why we haven't seen any big moves made is frankly that the value getting back on players, if there was at all, would not be something that probably is in the best interest of the team. And I kind of feel this opportunity in January is, to try to get a few wins and just get a good feeling around the team a little bit, but also to maybe resuscitate some value of players that could be available at the trade deadline. I mean, do you sort of see this rest of the season in the two parts as well, the pre-deadline portion of the schedule and then what's left after all the moves are made, in the likelihood that the Jets are not realistically in the playoff race?
Yeah, and us just quickly on Arniel, and definitely frustration, but like I don't think that Scott Arniel's primary focus is boosting the value of Gus Nyquist. I think he's still looking for a winning formula.
Not his job, yeah.
No, exactly. So I think that, I think if you're Kevin Cheveldayoff, you'd like to see the value of certain players that you might consider moving be enhanced, and that can only be enhanced by playing better. And again, that stretches beyond wins and losses. That means players have to show that they can bring something to a team in a different situation. So at the same time, it's just a tricky spot, Huss. I mean, Kevin Cheveldayoff didn't put his players on blast, and that's not really his style. I think he made it pretty clear that what was happening wasn't acceptable. But it's just an interesting spot, and two parts for sure, Huss. I think the Jets are still going to try to do everything in their power in this next 4-week stretch leading into the Olympics to try to claw, scratch, do whatever they can to get back in the race. But definitely in that, that 2-week block of time between coming out of the Olympic break, it's not even, it's 10 days, I guess. So that block of time between the roster freeze at the Olympics and the March deadline, I would think that's when things are going to get a little bit more heated, Huss. And that's not to say something can't happen beforehand, but as we've discussed many times, I mean, for all the changes some people would like to have happen, I mean, the draft capital is not there to, attack a top line player or its top pairing defenseman without going into the first round pick. And that first round pick right now, Huss, is a, potential top 1 to 5 pick. So I don't think there's a scenario where Kevin Cheveldayoff is moving the first rounder from this year. I don't think that that's in the cards, nor should it be.
No.
But without having a second and a fourth, that kind of, we've talked about it before, that Mason Marchment level of player. Now, if the Jets are looking at that, they're looking at someone with term or someone they think they can sign. So, but at the same time, I think that, there are going to be changes that come. I understand fans want those changes to have been yesterday. I just think it's more likely any, substantial move will be happening closer to either the start of February or closer to, end of February, March, when the deadline is kind of coming. And I mean, that's where it gets really dicey, right? So part of the thinking has to be, if this is the lineup that's got a team into 32nd, well, if ultimately the shift and the pivot happens, us to try to get as high a pick as possible, for all the folks that are clamoring for change, I mean, this is the roster that has put them in this predicament. I think right now the Jets are viewing it as an opportunity for those players to get them out of the predicament. But then too, I'm with you. I mean, at some point, if the Jets don't reel off a bunch of wins in, rapid succession, they'll have to shift the focus to recouping draft capital and kind of changing the mix. Because right now it's pretty clear that the mix is not translating into successful results. That doesn't mean you forget about the players and what they did in being a first place team last year. But it also means that if you're trying to have a retool rather than a rebuild, which we know in this market given the age of the core players, it's not going to be a scorched earth rebuild. So if that's the case, in addition to a top 5 pick, the Jets will need to add a little bit of spice in that middle 6 forward group going forward. So, and if it's tough to do in the summer, as we just saw it was last summer, that means that trades are going to be required here, whether that's, January 8th or more likely February, early February, late February, early March, right? I mean, because we know that this is not the way the team is going to look in the fall. So changes are going to have to be made, and they're coming at some point, whether the GM puts the players on blast or not. These are smart guys. They know that if you want to be around and be part of the solution, they're going to have to show a lot better than they have to this point.
Let me ask you this. I mean, I think we've all agreed that, this season has been, a 180 from where they want it to be. Normally, you would have some moves that have been made. Why do you think things have been so quiet on that? My opinion is the guys that they would be trading and just have so little value. They haven't really been able to do that. I know you've kind of made the case that, signing guys as free agents and waiving them halfway through the year might not be a good look on the org. That might have to happen at some point, but they've been hesitant to do that. Why do you think things have been as quiet as they've been roster-wise while they've, plummeted to the bottom of the league?
Well, to borrow the Elliot Friedman phrase, I mean, when you're struggling and drowning, most teams are not throwing the old life preserver. They're throwing the anvil your way. So generally speaking, they're not allowing you to send your biggest issue out the door for someone that's going to immediately help your top 6, right? That, again, trades get made. We know this. But there's this whole balance between present and future and all of those things. And again, Huss, I'm not saying the Jets can't do those things in terms of waivers, but I think they wanted to supply a little bit wider window. And again, like I said, in the fan base, you want it to have happened yesterday. I get it. Frustration is certainly valid there. But I think that if they're trying to recoup some of those assets, you are giving some of those players a little bit longer leash, even though, yes, I get it. Half a season is a long time in many regards and many jobs. But the other problem, Huss, is that there are so few teams that are out of it or want to declare themselves as out of it that, it's harder to trade your problem for somebody else's problem and hope that maybe you find a solution that way also. But again, I think that these talks are going to be heating up and happening in the coming weeks here. And I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that Kevin Cheveldayoff is kicking the tires around on players. Whatever level of player that is, that remains to be seen. But yeah, let's just put it this way. I'm expecting there to be, significant. There's going to be change before the deadline. I just don't know how significant or how deep some of those cuts are going to be. But again, and I'm
what
not
do you
here
think they're going to be looking for? Is it roster players? I mean, listen, I guess if you could trade some of these pending free agents that are not doing anything for you right now for a guy that can help you long term, great. More often than not, that goes into draft capital. And I guess I've been sitting here thinking, I don't think any of that's been on the table considering what these guys have been showing so far this year. Maybe with a good couple weeks, if that could possibly happen, you'll be in a better situation, can get something for it, as opposed to just cutting bait for nothing. Because I think we all agree that there's no way this team would be in a worse situation that they are right now if all of a sudden you replaced 4 guys in the roster with guys from the Manitoba Moose and gave them a chance.
Yeah, and I mean, then that's a fair way to put it, but the Jets are needing some of those assets for, future. They got to improve the roster, basically, Huss, right? I mean, no matter how they do it now, if that means trying what we know from situations in the past, like let's use Boston as an example. When Boston had 3 first-round picks, when Calgary had 3 first-round picks, those are supposed to be the years where you get things turned around in terms of the franchises, right? And just using those 2 examples, Huss, that didn't lead Boston
There's
to
no guarantees.
Right. So sometimes you end up with 2 players that don't make the NHL. Jacob Zaboral and Zach Sensation. Yeah. So and DeBrusk is no longer there, right? And in Calgary's, I think they turned one of those things into Dougie Hamilton, right? Wasn't that one of the Dougie Hamilton trade also? But again, it didn't immediately lead to success. But the goal for the Jets has to be, if they can't get into the playoff situation, they want that top 5 pick, but they've also got to find a way to get another first at some point. But right now, who on the roster is going to be that player that can get you another first round draft pick? If you're not touching, I've said this before, it's not coming from the core 4. It has to come from the secondary part of the core if the Jets are looking to change the mix and get younger and faster. And then that's where things get a little bit more complicated.
Hey.
Yes, I've mentioned Jake DeBrusk, but Jake DeBrusk has a no movement clause, so he would have to approve any deal if they can even find the pieces in order to make it fit. But that's the type of deal I'm talking about. Try to find a way to get bigger, stronger, faster, and that's the quickest route to trying to get back to being competitive, Huss, right? I mean, and the other issue for the Jets is that second round pick, where at the time they were banking on that being, in the mid 50s to 64th, right? Now that pick has the potential to be 34th. So that's why the importance of getting a move done at some point, whether it's, roster player or a combination of, prospect that you're ready to move on from. That's why it becomes extra important for the Jets, based on that jump in, 30 spots essentially, or whatever you want to.
Well, it's interesting that they're going into scouting meetings. I mean, we'll get to some of that of what Geoff said, because I do think that as they have to kind of pivot their priorities for the second half of the season, the pro scouting, at the NHL level, more the AHL level, is absolutely crucial, because if they do have the opportunity to take flyers or get some players that can come in, if you're moving on from the guys that have expiring contracts that you're looking to get something for, it might be able to help quicker. And of course, I do think they'd love to restock some of that draft capital that has been given up that isn't there right now as we head in.
And it's not just this year, Huss. It's also next year's second and fourths are gone.
Oh yeah, I know.
So that's where the recoup becomes a little bit more important.
Well, that's why I do think that draft capital is something that they'll definitely be looking at acquiring if they're able to. Of the roster right now, outside of the obvious, Hellebuck, Morrissey, Scheifele, Connor, Velarde, Adam Lowry. I think I might even include Morgan Barron. I think they would be loath to move on from him, especially when we talk about guys with expiring contracts that are often more likely to be moved. Who do you think is the most valuable player right now in the Winnipeg Jets as it pertains to the deadline and what the return would come back?
Yeah, it's tough to say, Huss, because you don't know who with term could potentially be available, right? That's the other thing. I think also on your list, I think Dylan Samberg is on that list on the no-fly zone.
Samberg, I should have included him.
But other than that, I don't know how deep they would be willing to cut. Obviously we know Neil Pionk just signed a extension in the summertime and it hasn't been going particularly well, but it's not really the Jets' nature to, step away from a player that they've just committed. We know they feel he's a huge part of the fabric of the culture and the leadership group and all of those things. So again,
he's unlikely, and with the amount of term and the dollar value, I'm not sure the reason why I ask it is I think there's a clear guy. I think it's Stan. I think the season that Logan Stanley's had,
right?
And I'll tell you what, punching Brady Tkachuk in the face on the weekend is not going to hurt his trade value as well in the eyes of many other NHL GMs when they think about what's involved in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But is there a player that you think would be more valuable right now? I will make the argument that Logan Stanley as a trade asset might be what garners the Jets the most at the trade deadline.
Well, it's an interesting, development for sure, Huss, and obviously the 7 goals is a testament to the season that Logan is having, certainly offensively. Teams are always looking for big and strong, and people made the jokes for whatever amount of years it was. 6'7". Before 6'7" was a thing. But the other problem, Huss, is that if that is moved and again, I'm not saying the Jets won't consider it, because if they can't sign him, then obviously they have to consider, they have to move him basically. But to me, Huss, the way the Jets have operated here, it's a decade in the organization. It would be odd to invest that level of sweat equity in order to move on from the player 10 years down the road. Now, unless you're getting a first back, I guess, or a high-end prospect, I guess. But right now, I mean, Logan's having a great year, but Hussey's still on the third pairing. Now, I mean, third pairing guys are still valuable and important, but I would be curious to see what the value is. And if that team thinks they can sign him, that would obviously enhance the value for him. So I just think that given the amount of time invested into the player, I'm with you. The value probably is high, but I also think there would be, again, Cole Perfetti, I'm not saying the Jets are shopping him by any stretch, but I mean, there's another first-round draft pick who's, not having the season that was expected of him.
I guess I think of Perfetti in a little bit of a different category because he's under team control.
Right, but that's what will make him, you asked who is more valuable. I think to other teams that think that after a summer of, normal training and when the high ankle sprain is completely behind him, I think that there's more value in terms of, potentially moving this type of player for that type of player to other teams. But yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating time.
Perfetti is, I should have maybe, I'm talking about guys that, if they want to walk at the end of the year, or players that are on like, a Nino or an Iafallo that have a couple years left, but have unrestricted free agency at the end. I mean, having players under team control is so key for Winnipeg. Perfetti, they're not just, moving off of him. I mean, listen, they need to find a way to get someone to come in and play with him and get him somewhere even remotely close to where he's been last season. And
I think we saw part of that yesterday, Huss, right? I mean, so this was that play yesterday, Taves' elite pass through the feet of Jacob Magna for a wide open tap or basically easy backhand for Perfetti. That's what the Jets envisioned going into the year, not envisioning for game 41, right? Like, now they're both players starting to get their footing a little bit, but now they got to do that over an extended period of time. I mean, we've been talking about this ad nauseum. Yes, Jonathan Taves went through very deep freeze in terms of offensive production, but he's come out of the break and has four assists in 6 games. So if they can find a way to get those guys going together, like Gabriel Velarde helped them do in that game last night against Vegas, all of a sudden now the Jets maybe have those 2 lines going, and then the Lowry line is going. So, but again, that's one step. They got to do it for an extended period of time, Huss. So, and in terms of Barron, Huss, I'm with you. I don't think that the Jets would be looking at moving Morgan Barron, but the fact that he only signed a 2-year deal makes it a little bit. You talked about guys who have value. Well, there's 31 teams around the league looking at Morgan Barron and saying, man, that guy looks like a winning hockey player. So, again, I'm not expecting the Jets to be moving Barron. I think they want to sign him to an extension as soon as they can in the summertime. But he'll be a player that other teams are, when Kevin Cheveldayoff's talking about other guys, well, I'm thinking that the counter from the GM on the other line is, well, what about Morgan Barron? Or what would it take to get Barron into the team here? But again, I think the Jets will prioritize extending him. But because they only found the middle ground on a 2-year bridge, it's made it a little bit more of a complex issue.
2 players I want to ask you about potential trade value, or would they even be in the mix? The first one, do you think there would be a market for Dylan DeMello? He's got 2 years left. He's making just under $5 million. How difficult does the contract make a potential DeMello move? And the other guy, it's more, and again, I think he's trending very well. If the Jets are out of it at the deadline, what's your thoughts on the Jonathan Taves situation as to whether he would be a player that, if he wanted to move and be on a contending team, would there be a market for it?
In terms of DeMello, Huss, with the rising cap, I don't see that number as being problematic. I think that, if he's going to a championship contender, Dylan DeMello is going somewhere where he's going to be used on the second or third pairing. We saw, just to use an example, not in terms of parallel players, but we saw that the year in 2018, Huss, the Jets had a $10 million third pairing, but you also have to have ELC players contributing at an extremely high level, like the way that they did during that span of time. In the short term, $5 million, I think a lot of teams could absorb, a good chunk of that money. But, Dylan DeMello, he had a great start to the year, Huss, and then things went a little bit sideways for him. I think he's still a valued member of the Winnipeg Jets. This is a guy who put down roots and spent a good chunk of his summertime here, raising his family here. I don't think he would be a primary guy that the Jets would be looking to move out. But every team is looking for right shot defensemen who can move the puck. So again, I think that he's probably a guy that would be asked about by other general managers. Now, assessing a value of what you could get, that and would that value, allow the team to move forward and be better? I mean, that only Kevin Cheveldayoff would know that from the calls if he's part of those calls. But us, we're also, you don't have to be a mathematics wizard to know that in order to make room for Solomonson, and if he's going to play in the top 4, then somebody's either got to be moved out or moved down the lineup. So, that's why I think people would naturally be wondering about him. In terms of Taves, I think only Jonathan knows for sure, and I think it would be related to the fact I said this to you at the time. My expectation at the time was that he wanted to come back and play multiple seasons, and if that's the case, I'm not sure. It would be hard for me to gauge whether he would be interested in going somewhere else. We know some of the other teams that were interested were contenders also. So, obviously I think his will to win and his desire to win would be, something where if he has another month, the way that he's had the first 6 games out of the break, I think that Jonathan would be hungry to want to win another championship. But I think there's also part of Jonathan that, like, the whole point of coming back to play for your hometown team would be to see it through. And if he wants to play another year, who knows whether that's here or somewhere else. But I think it's sort of, I think it's just too early to tell, Huss. I think it's a fair question. I just think it's too early to tell, what it would mean moving forward. I think you would have to, put together another 5-week stretch here of really solid hockey. If this was the pace coming out of the gate, well, then I would say obviously yes. But let's just put it this way. I think there would be interest in Jonathan if he plays the way that he plays. We know this about coaches. Even the face-off element alone going forward would be something that would have appeal to some teams that are out there. And there's some other teams. And here's the other part about Taves' game. I'll say I mentioned the 4 assists in 6 games. He's not getting scored on the way that their line was getting scored on. That line's not getting hemmed in the way that they had been at certain points. Jonathan looks to me like someone who's playing the game freely again. And again, it's simple. Some people say, well, he's not thinking. It's that things are happening instinctively for him again, Huss. And that is what makes him at his peak value, because he's such a great thinker and he's a smart passer and all those things. And Huss, to that point, some people have been wondering about the power play woes. I think that Jonathan Taves would be a good candidate to be put on the top unit in the pop position in the high slot, because he's kind of been at his best when he's had time and space. And if you have finishers like Velarde and Connor and Scheifele out there with you, I think that he might be able to be even more productive if he went in for Gus Nyquist in that spot.
Well, and to be honest, this is why I kind of think about this month heading into the Olympics is so key. Like, if Taves can have a really strong month, this is one of the players that I think could take a value of a guy that, like, who knows whether he was even going to continue playing,
right.
People had questions, to a guy that might be able to help a contender. And if the Jets aren't a contender, he's got a limited time. That could potentially be a win-win. And then you can figure things out in the offseason if you want to run it back here or there. Where it is. Anyway, it's going to give us
that's the one thing on Taves. One of the other teams was Colorado. Colorado plays fast enough that you wouldn't have to be worried about pace. And same with Carolina. Rod Brindamore was pretty high, supplied some high praise for Taves. We know it would be more of a 4th line role probably in those contending teams, but the things that appeal to the Jets, the experience, the 3 cups, the winning at every level, that's going to appeal to teams around the NHL.
That's got a lot of value if he's playing at a level that, which he's seemingly doing now before. Busy few days coming up. Oilers tomorrow, Kings Friday, Devils on the weekend. Keep up the great work on K&R, my friend, and I'll look forward to catching up with you next week. Enjoyed the chat as always.
Yep, thanks for having me. And sorry, I got to get you were there in attendance. Did you witness Travis Kelce's last game, Andrew? Did you?
Well,
what is your feeling?
I hope not. At the start of the year, I thought this was definitely going to be his last season. he still played at a really high level. I think he was second or third in yards for tight ends. And as I watched him walk off the field at Allegiant, I couldn't help but think that one of the greats of all time cannot go out in a bum fight between the Chiefs practice squad and the worst team in the NFL, the Raiders, with his buddy Patrick Mahomes taking care of an ACL back in KC. So
one last ride is what I hear from your voice.
I think it's one last ride. And you know what? I think it'll be good for him. He's getting married in June. You can't just go from being a professional athlete the whole time to then marrying Taylor Swift and then, okay, done. Like, I think the transition of playing one last year, the first year of being married, will be a nice transition for him to the next stage. So I'm going to say he's back, and I certainly hope he's back. Kenny, great stuff as always, dude.
Thanks for having me, and great Okamoto presser also yesterday.
Yeah, no doubt. Fienberg's coming up from the T-Dot. We'll see what he has to say about the Jays. Jays have had a pretty exciting offseason. Something tells me we'll be talking a lot about that for coming months here on WST. Great stuff, Ken.
Cheers, my man.
All right, we fixed a link issue. Fienberg is good to go. Just before we do that, of course, tomorrow, another game day. We will dive into the latest clean line lines, and there'll be some intrigue as to that, whether Danny Zhilkin is on those clean line lines. Of course, Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, great sponsors and supporters of the Winnipeg Jets and Winnipeg Sports Talk. Clean Line is your local leader for over 40 years of both residential and commercial plumbing, heating, and electrical, and the official plumbing service of the Winnipeg Jets, captain approved, 24/7 emergency service, 365 days a year, much like Adam Lowry has the back of the Winnipeg Jets, and we saw that last night. Clean Line has yours. Find out more today online, cleanline.ca, and 204-500-2001 for 24/7 emergency services. We're going to talk some NFL right away with Fienberg. Big weekend coming up, both for Jet fans, with 3 games from Thursday through Sunday and 6 playoff games. If you're not at the barn, the best place to be is your local Boston Pizza. Ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, great BP prizes for Jet games and NFL action, and one of the best weekends of the year with the Wild Card Weekend coming up. Staying at home, order online at bostonpizza.com. Speaking of the NFL playoffs, if you're like me, a playoff free agent, and you're looking to jump on a bandwagon or support your team ahead of the playoffs, get on down to Royal Sports for the best in NFL merchandise. And through the weekend, take advantage of the final remaining post-holiday sales with incredible deals throughout the store on shoes, athletic gear, fan wear, merchandise, Winnipeg Jets gear, of course, the hockey department and snowboard department popping as well as we get into January. Royal is the sports superstore in town for over 50 years, 750 Pembina Highway. Get down in person before the sales are over on the weekend, and check them out on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and big sale information. All right, just before we bring in Fienberg, a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's step away from the puck for a minute and welcome in my pal Geoff Fienberg, who is off to the playoffs. I'm very envious. The Chargers are playing this weekend. The Chiefs aren't. I got to see just a absolute barn burner. Week 18, Chiefs-Raiders on the weekend down in Vegas. But Fienberg's getting ready for Foxborough on the weekend. Geoff joins us now. What's going on, pal? How are you?
Us? How we doing? Yeah, it's that time of year, right? The competition raises up. It's fun to participate, but A lot of scar tissue over here, so we'll see.
Hey, listen, chip in a chair, man. You're in, and I'll say this. I mean, we've talked a lot about this in the frame of Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, but as a longtime member of a fan base in the AFC, it is sort of crazy just how wide open things are. I mean, the Broncos, the 1 seed, the Patriots, the 2 seed, no Mahomes and the Chiefs, no Lamar and the Ravens, no Joe Burrow and Cincinnati. You got to think that every team, even the Pittsburgh Steelers there are thinking, you know what? This is a very unique path, and this is why they play the games. Everyone's got a chance.
You know, Huss, maybe you'll just make me the eternal pessimist here, but I think the Steelers and the Chargers and the Carolina Panthers and the San Francisco 49ers with their defense. I don't really want to pick on the Panthers, but there's obviously a fatal flaw somewhere there. The Chargers O-line, like 32nd pass protection, 31st run blocking grade. Sure, they'll be a tough out. Maybe they'll pick one off, maybe 2. But, you know, like the 49ers with that defense, there's just no way they're going to pull off 4 in a row, or even 3 in a row. I don't, it's unfortunate because as wide open as you say it is, I don't know how. Some people, you know, wonder how on earth the Chargers found a way to win 11 games under certain constraints. Hustler. So,
well, listen, I mean, the Slater injuries, it's incredibly impressive, to be honest, that they are where they are. I think it's a lot of credit to the defense, certainly to Jim Harbaugh, and your quarterback, Justin Herbert, who, I mean, I will say this, having a night game out on the East Coast in January, probably not the best spot to be going at it, but they've got a chance. And listen, New England, I mean, Drake May has had a great season, but doing it in the playoffs against playoff level competition is another story. And I think we're all interested to see how that goes. What do you make of the pressure on Josh Allen? Because he will be the story in the AFC going in. You know, all the boogeyman that's killed him every time in the playoffs. Pat Mahomes is back in KC. The Chiefs aren't there. Burrow, Mahomes, and Lamar, as we mentioned. I mean, the regular teams. It seems like this is the time for the Bills, but I mean, the Bills have the 31st ranked run defense right now. I mean, there's some very major flaws in this game. How much is on the shoulder of Josh Allen going into these playoffs?
I think the winner of Jaguars Bills are set up to win the AFC. I mean, I guess anyone who gets out of the first round of the AFC is set up to win, but you know, that would be the team that I would be fearing the most. If I'm, say, the Denver Broncos watching at home this week, I'm sort of watching, you know, sure, I'll have to play, you know, the winner of a different game, but I'm sort of thinking my greatest, you know, obstacle to being the AFC champion is probably coming from Jags Bills. It's an incredibly fascinating game, and I agree with you. Even though the Bills are sort of flawed in their own way, just, you know, they're not going to be able to, when they lose this one, it's not going to be to Patrick Mahomes. It's not going to be to Joe Burrow. I think Sean McDermott could be in big trouble if this one doesn't go their way. I don't have a strong feeling about it. Slight lean to Buffalo. It is like in totality a pick on Josh Allen. Obviously, we're not privy to all the information. You know, if he's healthy, I would pick the Bills with Josh Allen. Tough to know how hurt or banged up he might be. Not a fan of that like one snap start though. That's pretty, you know, low brow.
Yeah, what? Does it really count? I mean, I guess it does in the
it
record
shouldn't.
books.
You know, we know there's an asterisk forever, even if they don't include it. I don't know.
You know who I think maybe people are underestimating is the Texans, and I say that not that their defense looked great. They gave up 30 in that final week, but again, week 18, they knew they were in the playoffs. Like, that is a defense that can travel. Like, I think that, you know, the Texans on the road in New England, the Texans on the road in Denver would be very live as a team that could win on the road and potentially get through. Like, I'm with you. I mean, I think that Baltimore-Jacksonville winner is going to be, potentially right there in the odds with the favorites. But what do you think about the Texans? Listen, the offense isn't maybe Super Bowl caliber, but that defense sure as hell is.
Yeah, so I'm in on the Texans. I don't think it's going to be my Chargers, and I've got like a Texans 25-1 Huss to win the AFC.
Nice.
I was sort of there, I sort of saw this path to them getting in and potentially being disruptive before it actually all fell together for them. Funny enough, this Pittsburgh game on Monday, I tell you, Huss, like if you told me a month ago, like Texans -3 in Pittsburgh, like blind bet, whatever, like all in, like I'll be all in. Now that the game is like here and it would actually be time to make that bet, I don't know. I'm like,
dude,
Voodoo Monday night, the Steelers getting 3 points, DK's back. I'm not saying the Steelers are going to win. That game's just going to it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird. And, I think the Chargers, just having a good feel for them are quite well suited for playing in a bad weather game with how good their defense is. So I presume that you could say the same thing about the Texans. Despite being a dome weather Southwest team, their defense is so good that, maybe put them in thing is everything Houston plays is low scoring, and you would want those defensive ends getting off the line quick. That's a tough one. I lean Houston because my priors are all in on Houston, but I don't like it like I thought I would. I don't love it like I thought I would.
It's funny that you say that. I feel the exact same way. I got a Texans future, and I was all looking forward to seeing how this ended up, and then Pittsburgh pulls the voodoo out.
But it's better Pittsburgh than Baltimore for our Texans futures, at least. Like that's undeniable, right?
Yeah. But at the same point, I everything you just laid out, like I'm not sure. Like, to be honest, if they get through this game, I think I'll be really high on them to be able to finish the job and beat anybody else in their way. It's just something about. Although I guess the Steelers now we're in the playoffs and Tomlin's 0-6 going forward, but Aaron still seems happy. What about the NFC? Like looking at the NFC right now, Seahawks team to beat after that big win on the weekend, and their defense, speaking of defenses, that looks like a championship level defense. And Sammy Darts didn't see the ghost that he did last year. Rams next up at +250, Eagles +450, Bears 9-1, Packers 10, Niners 12, and then if I had $150,000, you would have that if you bet 200 on the Panthers at 75-1 to win it all. Who intrigues you? Is this Seattle making it through as the home team, as the favorite, or is there one of the underdogs, the lower ranked teams that you think might be heading to San Fran?
So I do like Seattle, but if I had to pick off that, and I guess just to draw it to about this week, I think sounds crazy to say. I think the Eagles, not to say they're playing possum, but I think the San Francisco 49ers are the perfect matchup for them. They really are. And the Eagles can do something really dumb. As they're getting 5 yards of play, they're going to do something like so off script, which is just going to screw it all up. But the 49ers, look at the defenses they've played. Everyone just goes right through them, Huss. I think the Eagles are gonna take care of them at the link on Sunday. It's my favorite bet of Wild Card Weekend is the Eagles to take down the 49ers. And then, this team defending Super Bowl champs, dominant defense, a little bit of mojo. I think they could be dangerous.
Well, I have said all year long I can't wait to bet against the Eagles in the playoffs, right up there with the Broncos. Partly because I just can't stand Nick Sirianni, and I thought they were sort of fraudulent. But I am with you. This is not the matchup that I love for them.
I hope they dominate and you get like a bigger number next week. But honestly, I don't know if you'll want to trust the Bears either. But we'll see. It's fun, right? Last year felt like everyone I knew had these preseason exact Super Bowl matchups. Eagles, Chiefs. It didn't even matter who won the game. Felt like I knew so many people winning bets once that was the Super Bowl. No one's going to be sitting on something this year. We're going to have something fun and can't wait.
I'm just looking at CoolBet right now, has all of the exact Super Bowl matchups out. I'm sort of with you. I do like the Seahawks. I mean, I think that's one. I see Texans Seahawks is about 16-1. Texans Rams 19-1. Jags Seahawks 19-1. You get into some Bills. You really want to go deep. What's a Bears Panthers? Let's not go that far down.
What do you think, Huss? What do you think about Sunday Night Football? You've seen this Chargers team a couple times. They're a pretty physical bunch. Win or lose, whoever the Patriots are playing next are going to enjoy, I think, watching the Chargers just hit the Patriots. That's what I think is coming, Huss.
Yeah, no, listen, I think a lot of people are just going to assume that New England, with that great season and, the deficiencies of the Chargers due to injuries, it's going to be a walkover. I don't believe so. I think it's going to be a tight one. I thought you might even be at the game. Wanted to see that big win on the road. Although Foxborough outside.
Huss, this is where I'll make the oversized money line bet responsibly. And then it can just start to fund, some journeys maybe for some bigger games. We keep rolling that over. That's the plan. But Herbert, I need this one, Huss. I need Herbert to get this one, even though they're on the road. This is the problem. I'll make a quick analogy, then you can get rid of me. Because, the people who like me will know for the golf. We're going to be like Tommy Fleetwood, Huss. Everyone that hated on Tommy, they gained a lot of respect for Tommy this past summer. Even what did he win? All he won was a 30-man tournament in the end. The second Tommy Fleetwood gags like a 2-stroke lead on Sunday in anything, it's all gone. All the good equity that he built up is gone. This year with Herbert, despite, an 0-2 sample size, oh my God, it seemed like he turned a lot of haters. That they even though the stat lines weren't there, that he got a lot of respect from a lot of people that had given him a hard time for a long time. The second it goes backwards on Sunday, all that good grace he built up by carrying this team on his back all season, it's gone. It's just gone. And it's a whole off season of he's not capable of winning anything.
At this point, though, with the season that he's had and what's happened elsewhere, have your longtime internet rivals from the QAnon community at least cooled off a little bit? I mean, we can settle that debate once and for all.
Yeah, that's one of the few battles that Justin Herbert stands have won on the internet. We're bleeding out from other places, though. I don't know if they've disbanded, but we don't hear from them. We don't hear from them anymore. Yeah, that was a real thing, though. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Hey, what do you make of John Harbaugh getting the pink slip from the Ravens?
Not interesting. I don't know. I guess like anything, Huss, you could make a really great dish and it's yummy, and even the leftovers are yummy, and even a week later it's still yummy. But at some point it's going to expire, no matter how good it tasted at some point.
Yeah, to me,
it's been a long time there. And that doesn't mean he can't be great somewhere else. And selfishly, as a Charger fan, that one concerns me because Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter is an easy link there. And I really want Minter for 1 year that I have my tackles to just keep that defense doing what it's doing. But it seems like he's a hot name.
Would John come to work for Jim? Or how about this scenario, dude?
Well, I think John is probably a consultant now if we can go on a run. Is that a good thing? I guess it's a good thing. It can't hurt, right?
How about this scenario?
Raiders?
The Raiders in the division head-to-head with Jim twice a year? Listen, the division's already stacked. Can you imagine Andy Reid, Sean Payton, Jim and John Harbaugh? I mean, that would be incredible.
Listen, I hadn't even thought about that one. That's a pretty good one there, Huss.
I mean, you know how the script is written. It certainly would be.
That is a good script. The screenwriters would like that one.
Would be box office as well. Hey, just quickly, and we all needed some time. I did not even watch highlights from the World Series for 2 months until they're doing like the plays of the year or whatever. I think I might have seen you pop up on one of those. But, we've moved on from the World Series. You got to be feeling pretty good about this offseason for the Jays.
So, I hear good things. I was at a kid's birthday party. My wife's good friend's husband. I know him well. We can talk shop, whatever. And he just wanted to talk to me about Game 7. And I had to be like, no, you don't. I'm not talking about that. And he, kept going on. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I don't think about it. I don't talk about it. I just I don't. It's buried. So, I mean, I'll never forget it, but I don't like talking about it. So change the subject. I don't want to talk about it. As I joked on New Year's Eve, I will live with it like a lot of Jays fans until my children are pouring dirt over my head, Huss. I don't think I'm ever going to forget about it. If this group can pull one off in the next 2 or 3 years, I guess I'll rescind all of that, and I probably could forget about it because I'm easy to please. I'm a cheap date. Just give me one, I'll forgive you forever. Yeah, we're all wearing it, but I appreciate, which is crazy to say, that Edward Rogers knows what's up. He knows good things coming. He knows what happens when this team is good. The people support it. If you build it, they will come. So try to ride this momentum, reinvesting right back into this ball club. Yeah, and it also feels good. I was the guy in my group chat, Huss, a year ago, defending Atkins and Shapiro. And I'm sure in all group chats, there was at least one of us. So you deserve a bow and a pat on the back for that. But I don't know. Hopefully they pull something else off here. It seems like a lot of good things are coming. But yeah, I'm not ready to I'm still not ready for that. I'm still not ready for that.
Just gonna see those jerseys out at the home opener and think about it for a second and then move on.
Yeah, listen, once the games start, there's summer chills again. It's on TV all summer long, whatever. We're back together. But right now, I'm still, I don't know. It still just hurts.
Hey, did you go to TGL when you were down in West Palm?
I did. I was lucky enough. They invited me out there. It was 10 minutes down the road.
So quickly, I've watched it a little bit. I mean, it looks like a really cool place to go. What was it like getting in that facility in a venue? Was there actual matches going on at the time?
Yeah. So I saw the Atlanta team play the New York team. Quickly, it's just technology overload. Your head is on a swivel. You're just impressed with the technology well beyond the screen, just how the green changes and how it takes them 30 seconds to turn it, make a new hole location, all of how the cameras are just roboting all over the place, the lights. It's I'll be honest, my ADD was kicking in a bit hard. I had to go on a couple walks every now and then. You probably get how that is. And yeah, so technology and the operation, the people who run it, the whole thing, 10 out of 10, so first class. This would be my complaint, Hustler. It's got to be more gimmicky golf, more, they had a stinger hole where you had to hit low trajectory, under a rock, or I don't know, make it look like Mario World sort of stuff. I'm speaking for myself here, but I feel like I'm speaking for a lot of people. No one gives a crap about seeing stock golf shots into a screen. What I mean by stock golf shot, you're in the middle of the fairway, you got a 7-iron, clean pin. We're in Florida. Let's go outside and do that. No one, in my opinion, it's got to be more, just fun. I'm not saying every hole, but instead of one out of the 15 holes being crazy, it should be almost half of them or something. right? Every golfer is like a dime a dozen guy. Unless I'm flipping and it's Tiger Woods, like I don't know that I'm stopping to watch anyone hit a stock golf shot. Full stop. I don't know how you feel about that.
Listen, I'm with you.
But like, what does a stock golf shot do for any of us who like it enough to watch?
They have the opportunity with the technology to do anything.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. I mean, I think kind of making it a little quirky, put it this way, take advantage of the opportunity to force these guys or put these guys in entertaining spots to hit shots that you would never in a million years see on the PGA Tour. Have some fun with it. Let those guys have some fun with it. And
experiment. If it goes bad, like you twerk it a bit and you find like the fine line that works. If you go over the line for a little bit, it's simi golf. Like no one's actually going to care. I will say though, Huss, even though being in there for like 2.5, 3 hours, when you're done and I walk outside, it was like the same disorientation. Like you've been at a nightclub all night or a casino or, you know, some of us like, you know, a dungeon strip club. Like you come outside and you're like breathing real air and it's like real sunlight and you're just like disoriented for like 2 or 3 minutes and to get your bearings back because it is just like such an intense, I don't know, between the lights and the noises, it's a sensory overload in that place, but technologically marvelous.
Well, I'm glad I asked you about that because I was very intrigued. I mean, it's looked really neat on TV, and I knew you were down there and got a chance to check it out, so I appreciate it. Listen, I know we're division rivals. I'm pulling for you guys on the weekend, and let's all agree, anybody but Denver.
Anyone but Denver. Even the Patriots. I know, like, they're spoiled to be right back. I like Drake May a lot.
I'd rather have the Patriots than the Broncos.
Yeah, Patriots. Oh, my God. Absolutely. That's why Pittsburgh cannot beat Houston because we can't give Denver a layup. And maybe, you know, I'm biased, Huss. Obviously, if the Chargers win, it's an auto game, 1v7, so there's nothing else that can come between it. Give me. Like our backups rattled Bo Nix in week 18 when playing a generic scheme. I would love the opportunity to do you proud.
Oh, listen. It's AFC West rivals come together in a common goal and a common cause right now at playoff time. Dude, thanks so much for jumping on. All the best to you and the fam for the new year, and let's do this again soon.
Anytime, Huss. Let's go.
Appreciate it. Say hi to Pat, Tim, and the fellas. There's Geoff Fienberg. Check him out, Mayo Media Network, along with Pat, Tim, the weekly pick shows, and the boys will just be getting into golf season. We'll be looking forward to talking some golf with Geoff when he joins us, later on as we get into golf season. All right. Let's first of all, we're going to get to the Cool Bet lines. We'll get Remo back in here. We do have the poker tourney tonight. I'm going to remind you all that if you have not played with us in the last couple tourneys, this is a special one. We had 3 tourneys set up, 2 in December, 1 tonight. Top 4 finishers will grab a ticket for the Costa Rica final on Monday, where the winner will get flights a week in the beautiful Sheraton San Jose, in San Jose, Costa Rica, and the $550 USD entry into the main event of the Costa Rica Poker Festival. The tournament is at 8 p.m. There'll be a bounty on my head of $100, Remis of $100, Jeff Hamilton of $100, just bonus if you take us out. And otherwise, good luck to everyone on being one of those final 4 and playing for the Costa Rica trip next week. Huge thanks to Pat, Jake, and the gang at CoolBet for making this all possible. So I hope to see you all tonight. Remo, how are you feeling about your game coming into the final qualifier?
It hasn't been great. I can go for a while. I'm still rattled about, I think being the last guy, before the money, 3 times in a row. It's taken a while to get over it. Almost like Fienberg trying to get over the Blue Jays loss in the World Series.
Excellent production, by the way, of throwing up that photo the minute we started talking about it.
I felt really bad, but I thought, look, I have to think about the stream. I'm trying to enhance it with visuals. Oh, and I did not Man, I have to apologize to Connor. He sent me all these graphics that I totally forgot about. As Fienberg not talking about it, the Blue Jays, and he brought it up, and I was like, oh yeah, they really were that close. Not talking about the way to go, but as far as the poker tonight, we'll see. It depends. I think I'll do okay, better than last week or last game.
Yeah, well, I'm fired up. I know the Gitch, and I think Geoff Lomas, I think, got in there last time. It's been a good group of WSTers that have already qualified. So tonight, 8 p.m., top 4 get tickets for next Monday's tourney. We get going at 8. Looking forward to seeing you there. Go to CoolBet, hit on the poker, and when you get into poker, go to tournaments. And then there's a little magnifying glass. If you just click on that and put in WST, it'll take you right there. 20 euros. I think the buy-in's about $32 Canadian or so. And as I say, top 4 teams get the tickets. We're pretty late right now. Do we want to save some of the Chevy with Sarah for tomorrow? Or do you want to get into it now?
Yeah, I mean, we can get into that tomorrow before Jets Oilers. We'll have plenty of time halfway through the year to dissect the Jets. Us.
Yeah. Well, that we certainly will. Going into 3 games in 4 nights at home. Tomorrow against the Oilers, and then Friday night, our WST game of the month against the Kings. If you want to join us for the game, winnipegjets.com/WST. And we'll see if they can get a win. Thought last night was maybe going to be it.
Friday.
But as we've said that they have found, Friday would be a really nice night. Tomorrow would be nice, even though I'm sort of at peace with the fact that I don't think this team is in the playoffs and the losses don't hit as hard as they would normally right now for me. They got to end this streak. This is like a black cloud around the hockey team, and I think the fan base, and just a win last night would have been so nice. But tomorrow against Edmonton or Friday against the Kings, let's put up 2 points and get a bit better of a feeling around here, even if we probably won't be getting the Whites out in April.
You look at this losing streak. Have you ever seen a more excruciating losing streak where, Toronto, 4-1 lead, blown, Vegas, you score the late go-ahead goal, lose in overtime. They're all Minnesota, the late penalty. Utah, you battle back after not showing up and lose in overtime. Ottawa, that was another really bad one. You lose in overtime. And
oh my God, our watch party, the 1-0 game in St. Louis.
Yeah,
how could we forget about that?
And all of these, they get down and battle to make it close. I'm thinking about Gus Nyquist. Nemestikov with that 2-on-1 yesterday with Gus Nyquist. I think they're just trying to get him that first goal of the year. Everyone was yelling "shoot" in the crowd.
Oh my God, he got stoned by Carter Hart on the side of the net.
Yeah, it's
last night.
I hope we get Gus's first goal as a Jet at some point. We got Luke Shen's.
Maybe Friday.
I'm trying to just think of the small wins at this point of the year, and I thought they were going to get that win yesterday. I thought the officiating in overtime slightly questionable with the stuff they let go to call the penalty that they did. I think it was a penalty, but
yeah, it was like the old sweep the leg from a karate.
It was it was a penalty, but call it both ways. I think people were very upset, rightfully booing. I thought that one. So.
And by the way, you know what? I don't normally talk about the game production, but I will give the guys credit last night.
Ukrainian.
Well, first of all, that was amazing. That Zrada band.
I was going to say, they were awesome.
They are unbelievable. And listen, if you weren't at the game last night, you can look it up. I think Zrada is the band, and they're like this eclectic Ukrainian group. I've seen them do some shows in and around Winnipeg. They've got a big following. They were phenomenal. The Rusalka dancers were great. The graphics, all of that was good. But I will say this, if you noticed, after the Flurry incident in the first period, I thought they did a great job of just dialing back everything for the first period. I mean, there wasn't a bunch of promos and things like that because I think people were still sort of, feeling the gravity of the concern for Hayden Flurry. And things got back to normal a little later on, kind of after the second period. But, and listen, I'm not a big ref you suck guy. I don't chant it, but I understood why fans were chanting it last night. It was hilarious that they let the crowd breathe. Like there was when that chant got going, they laid off the music for about 4 or 5 seconds and just let it build throughout the arena before putting it on. So overall, listen, I know I think everyone at the organization, whether you're in food service or taking tickets or doing security or doing production, I think, what's happened on the ice is, I think, taking a toll on everyone. So anyways, it was a fun night last night. I thought there was some juice in the crowd. And that's, what you want to see. I mean, this city and this fan base does love this team. And I know there's some people that every time things go bad, although they haven't gone this bad before, sort of, or say they're jumping ship. But, we've got a lot of games coming up in January, and we'll be there, and hopefully we can see a few wins. And but overall, big picture, hopefully make some moves that will make this team better in the future. And if that comes with a nice high draft pick to maybe get one of those studs we talked to Chris Peters about earlier on, I think most people would be fine with that at this point. Let's get to it tonight. The Coolbet lines for this evening, and we have 5-game slate in the National Hockey League. That Dallas has lost 6 in a row, Reem?
They have?
Yeah.
Well,
Dallas has lost 6 in a row. I think 3 have been in overtime or shootouts.
Next on Nikolai Ehlers had a big game last night for Carolina.
Yeah, 3 assists last night in that win over Dallas. Dallas is in Washington tonight. Dallas is even money, or plus 101. Washington's minus 119. The Flames are in Montreal. The Habs minus 147 favorite. The St. Louis Blues and the Chicago Blackhawks are going at it. This is the other thing that's so bizarre, man. When I see teams that are just ahead of the Jets, like the Blues and Blackhawks, we're now in a position where it's almost advantageous for those games to go to overtime.
This is uncharted territory when watching games. Like
bizarro world.
Like the Jets blew that game yesterday pretty hard, and I saw Chatter and Kenny and Rennie saying that he just felt numb after. What's gonna happen is gonna happen. You can't really control it, and ultimately losing does help them get a better draft pick.
Yeah.
But
once you're at peace with where the season has gone, maybe you look at things a little differently. But I have no issue with all the teams around us going to get 3-point games right now, because, again, so much of that is going to play into where the Jets finish in the draft lottery, assuming that there's no miracle coming around the corner in the second half of the season. Blues are minus 115, Hawks minus 102. That game at the United Center in Chicago. Another Central Division team, the Utah Mammoth, are at home. They're minus 123 favorite against the Ottawa Senators. And the Sharks, coming off their win against Columbus last night, they're plus 205 in LA. Kings minus 250. Did you see the scrap between Reeves and Olivier last night in that game?
I did see that fight. That was, took some big shots. I don't know, I don't know if I should be saying this, Huspel. It's kind of weird where, Reeves is fighting without a visor, and he's fighting a guy with a visor. Now, Reeves obviously grandfathered in that he doesn't have to wear one, and he could choose to put one on. But, when it's two guys, it seems like a bit of an advantage. His helmet comes off. It's in a rough position there. He took some big shots, and thankfully he was okay after.
Well, he was. We popped into our spot after the game. Just as that was happening, just as that was being, the guys were dropping the gloves. So we saw it on a big screen TV, and, you watch the replay of it, and he sort of gets it in the back of the head afterwards. But that Olivier, to say that he packs a punch would be an incredible understatement. And, I listen, Reeves has been a pain in the ass for the Winnipeg Jets for a long, long time. But I was feeling for him after that. And I don't know how many more he's got in him, to be perfectly honest with you. He'll go straight to Spittin' Chicklets or one of the broadcast teams right away. But they certainly seem to love him in San Jose. But that is a tough job, man, going up against a guy like Olivier, and what a beast he is for the Columbus Blue Jackets. I did put together a 3-gamer. Dusty and I were chopping this up in the lock shop. We've got it up for tonight's games in the National Hockey League. You can see it right there, the ride with Huss. We're going to see if the Caps can extend Dallas's losing streak to 7. Washington at home, Dallas playing on the second end of back-to-backs. Caps, Habs at home over the Calgary Flames. And we're going to take the Ottawa Senators over the Utah Mammoth. That one's plus 534, boosted up to plus 625. We had that nice, we had our parlay yesterday that was nuked by the Leafs beating the Panthers. And when we were talking in the lock shop, we were kind of deciding between which of the home dogs of Seattle or the Sharks we were going to take. I ended up just taking both of them, putting them with Edmonton. And that one came through last night. So let's see if we can get another winner tonight. Plus 625 right now over at CoolBet in the combo cards at the top of the page. And don't forget, poker tonight, 8 p.m. We will deal the cards. And wishing you all good luck to hopefully have you running with myself and Geoff Hamilton in 3 weeks down in Costa Rica for a week at the Costa Rica Poker Open. Remo, good luck tonight. And I love these tourneys. I mean, we'll continue to do them, but this is the last chance to get in for the Costa Rica promo. And myself, we've never had any of the guys with bounties on their heads take out one of the other bounties.
I love that. Although, I don't know, sometimes... Yeah, I guess I would like that. I'm going to take the bounty money. It's
extra $100 if possible.
Yeah, it's never happened. Yeah, so...
We both owe Hammer one, I think. Like, let's maybe score one for WST.
He's taking me out, and maybe I do need to go harder when I see that bounty's available. I think I've adjusted to life with a bounty. There was some, I came out kind of hot, and then you put it on me, and people are going hard. But I've had some good performances. Maybe I'm due for one here. I'll be watching, we got Wednesday night NHL. Maybe I'll be watching Dallas Capitals, Blues Blackhawks, Kings Sharks, do a little scouting here for Friday's game. Big win by the Kings. Was that last night or 2 nights ago against Minnesota? I think it was 2 nights ago.
Yeah, 2 nights ago, I think.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this poker.
All right, well, folks, hopefully we'll see you tonight, 8 p.m. Great show today. As I say, we've got clips from Chevy. We just had a really great long, with the call-up of Danny Zhilkin and the moves and, just it being at the midway point of the season. We got into a whole bunch of stuff with Ken, and we wanted to make sure we had time for Chris Peters. So we'll get into some of those tomorrow. I mean, there'll be plenty of time to this week to talk about both the games, the next couple nights, as well as more of the Jets officially at the midway point of the season in 32nd place of the 32 teams in the NHL. That is going to do it for us. Another great crowd today, folks. Great to have you with us. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. And join us tomorrow at 1 p.m. for a game day edition, the third and final matchup of the year between the Jets and the Edmonton Oilers. Connor McDavid coming to town. We'll be all over that tomorrow and much, much more. Hopefully, we will see you then. Thanks to everyone listening on the podcast. Big thank you to all the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Everyone hanging around on YouTube. Hopefully, we'll see you on the poker tourney tonight over at coolbet.com. Otherwise, 1 p.m. tomorrow, you know where we'll be, right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a great night.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.